Guys, welcome to the podcast. Today is going to be a fun episode with Justin Erhart of Premium Hunts. Before we get to that, I want to thank you guys for your support of this podcast. I want to encourage you, if you're listening and you're not a subscriber, it's free. Just click the subscribe button. That helps my rankings on iTunes, and it helps us keep track of the number of listeners. I appreciate you doing that. It's free. Tell your friends about it. I also want to thank the sponsors. I want to thank you guys for supporting those sponsors. I want to thank GoHunt.com Gear Shop, my friend Cody Nelson of 20-plus years. He's the optics manager there. He helps J. Scott Outdoors listeners every single day. If you're in the market for binoculars, spotting scopes, rifle scopes, tripods, anything to do with glassing, give Cody a call, 702-847-8747, extension 2. Tell him I sent you. He'll take care of you. I want to thank Go Hunt for their sponsorship. I also want to thank KUIU Ultralight Hunting. KUIU is the gear that I wear on all of my hunts. You can go on my Instagram account at J. Scott Outdoors and check out, I do reviews. I also do about 3 times a week a question and answer session with listeners and Instagram followers and answer a bunch of questions about KUIU. To find out more about KUIU, you can go to KUIU.com. I want to thank them for their sponsorship. I also want to thank PhoneScope. Go to phonescope.com, use the JScott19 promo code. You're going to get a 10% discount. That is the digiscoping adapter I use on my iPhone X. And last but not least, I want to thank onxmaps.com. Use the JScott19 promo code. Now, you're going to sign up, and then they're going to send you an email, and you use the JScott19 promo code, and that's going to save you 20%. I love the public versus private land overlays on Onx Maps. It's replaced the handheld GPS for me. I love the tracking. It's got the the breadcrumb feature that tracks you in and out. And I love the fact that you can scroll from topo to aerial view just by pushing a button. So check out Onx Maps. Use the JScott19 promo code. Guys, let's get right to this episode with Justin Erhart of Premium Hunts. Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we've got a Elk Rut recap report from Justin Erhart of Premium Hunts, based up there in Unit 1 and 27. Justin, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Jay?
I'm doing great. What are the elk doing up there?
They're starting to move around quite a bit. A lot of smaller bulls showing up with cows, but still waiting on the big ones to kind of establish their grounds and show up where they're going to spend most of their time.
Justin, what are your conditions up there? Coming off a wet winter and a good spring, how is the late August, September moisture been? What are conditions looking like up there?
We did have a great winter and a good spring, and our monsoon season has just been terrible. We've gotten some decent rainstorms here and there, but it's been pretty wide spread for being real sporadic, not pounding a whole bunch of country, just a little storm here and a little storm there, and it's been that way throughout the entire region. But the horn growth still looks pretty dang good.
Okay. So with sporadic rain, let me back up. You're focusing primarily on Unit 27 and Unit 1, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
And you're based out of Eager or Springerville?
Eager.
Okay, Eager, Arizona. So, Justin, when you have those rains that are not widespread and they just kind of hit pockets here and there, I would assume for the listeners out there, a little bit of a tip for guys hunting 1 and 27 is search around and find those areas of green, and then you'll go miles and maybe it'll be, not as green, and just focus on those green areas. Is that something that you think is important?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anybody that's ever been in a unit knows that both of the units are very diverse, but some of the lower country, it looks pretty burnt up right now, and the feed is short, but the high country, the feed is still really tall and looking good. So I think those elk will definitely transition to places with a little better feed for sure.
As far as antler growth goes, how good is it? Best you've ever seen? Does it compare to other years? Give us the lowdown.
No, it's pretty good, Jay. It's not, I wouldn't say it's the best I've ever seen, but it's definitely good, and it's a breath of fresh air after last year.
How much of those we talked about on a podcast before with you, holdover bulls and droughty bulls last year made it through? Are you seeing a lot of those same bulls that all of a sudden are, 20, 30 inches bigger this year?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole bunch of them that got the big jumps. The late hunt has taken a pretty big toll on a lot of the age class, but for the most part, yeah, those older bulls that have made it, they made a pretty significant jump.
What would you say, is there any difference between bulls in 27 or 1 as far as quality that you're seeing, whether it be middle of the ground quality, average type quality better in one unit, or are you seeing, some giants in one or the other?
Right, all through summer, 27 has been looking a lot better than Unit 1. But with that being said, a lot of those bulls will migrate out of 27 and come to Unit 1 or Rut, and we've followed numerous bulls in the past that do that, and they get a big influx of some of those bulls from 27. So I imagine it'll be pretty evenly spread throughout the 2 units.
With we're the 8th of September right now. We're a Sunday, and the season kicks off in Arizona next Friday, which I believe is the 13th. With the moon being full and with the conditions that what are you anticipating for guys hunting 1 and 27 on opening weekend?
Man, I'm predicting it's going to be pretty slow, and basically you might get a good 30 to 45-minute window in the early morning and in the afternoon, but I think it's going to be pretty dead for those first few days. Generally going to be hot and not a lot of action going on, but it'll pick up as the season goes on.
Justin, what are you seeing as far as bone density, as far as, antlers, as far as, the mass and just solidness, where last year I would assume a lot of the antlers kind of light on mass and a little brittle. What are you seeing? Some solid antlers, maybe not even size and point length, but are you just seeing a little more mass this year?
Oh yeah, definitely more mass, better length, just overall a little bit better. Last year a lot of bulls were kind of weak on their top ends. This year we're seeing a lot of really, really good top ends on bulls.
Did you notice the bulls rubbing any earlier or later, or any differences from prior years, or did they rub basically the same day?
No, it's basically all, that I would say the majority of them are usually between August 5th and August 15th, and that seems to be what it is every year. Doesn't really matter on moisture, in my opinion. They rub when they're ready.
Let's talk a little bit about New Mexico. I know you do some hunts over there as well. I don't believe you do archery hunts, but talk a little bit about your operation over there and what you're seeing in New Mexico, maybe that's the same or different than Arizona.
New Mexico, we do some bow hunting over there, but this year we booked up in Arizona and we filled all of our spots for our guys, and we didn't have room to do anything else over there, but it's looking good. We just spent a few days over there, bumped in the wilderness a little bit and hit a few different units over a period of days, but it's looking pretty good in a lot of areas, but some of those other units still look pretty dry over there.
I mean, being the pig that I am, I really wanted to see, winter moisture that we had, phenomenal winter moisture, and just a bang-up monsoon. But obviously that didn't happen. Are you looking at any of the forecast models? I've heard some guys talk about potentially some heavy monsoon-type action in September. What are you seeing in any of your forecasts?
I haven't seen anything on that prediction. I kind of had a gut feeling that might happen because it happened to us a few years back, and it seemed to rain about every day that year during the archery hunts. But it's And I mean, we could sure use it. We haven't gotten hardly any monsoon rain, and it would help us out going into this winter and everything else. But I don't know for fact what it's going to do or what it's not going to do.
You talked about earlier about those bulls, potentially moving long distances. Do you think on a spotty year where you've got green here and there and it's spotty, do you think they'll move even further?
Yeah, I mean, if it dries up in an area and they can wander over a few miles over it and be in a nice lush, pasture of green grass, they're dang sure going to do it.
Justin, I won't take up more of your time, but I want to get potentially a couple of tips that you have for guys out there archery hunting with the elk season kicking off from a professional guide standpoint, doing this, many years and doing it day after day. What kind of tips can you give some guys for this upcoming year?
I would say number one would probably be very patient. And that's key in bow hunting for sure, patience. And then, you're probably going to want, guys need to hold still. We get a lot of guys that come out and the movement gets them busted every time. They got to know when to draw. They can't be snapping their head back and forth looking. That type of movement. Yeah, head bobbing. It'll get them picked up in no time flat, and it'll ruin the whole deal. And another good one is guys got to take good shots. Every year we have bulls that get wounded and we're not able to recover them, and I know it's part of the game and it happens a lot, but if guys will wait for a little bit better shot, a lot of times it could make or break the hunt.
Don't you think a lot of clients, they've got money invested in the hunt, they've got time off work, and they get any little window of opportunity and they think they need to strike then, which you definitely need to strike while the iron's hot, but you may be able to get on a bull multiple times, and taking a bad shot, one of the worst things you can do, because typically a bad shot never gets rewarded. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've in the past I've seen guys take shots where it just makes you want to duck your head and cry, basically, because you worked so hard to get possibly that one really good break, and then it was ruined by a early shot with a small window that if you would have waited just a little bit longer, he may have taken a few more steps or made the right turn, but guys just got to be patient and know when to take those shots, know when to draw, hold still.
Tips. Yeah, those are great tips. What are you seeing right now, being the 8th of September, as far as bugling activity? I mean, have you seen any bugling at all, or is it still really slow?
It's really slow. We have seen some bugling. I've seen a few nice bulls kind of drift in, and then they're gone the next day. You won't see them again. I think they're just kind of rolling around and looking for cows and figuring out where everybody's at. But for the most part right now, it's just been either lone cows or small bulls with cows doing a tiny bit of bugling. In fact, last night I saw a group of 6 bulls together, so it's just not time yet.
Don't you think that could almost be a blessing in disguise for the guys with tags coming up next week, and that you and I, we've seen it where the week before, like this weekend, they're just blowing and going, and the feed's real good. It seems like they're just rutted up and they're just going crazy and they're already starting to fight and get after it. Potentially, it could be good for the hunters in the fact that if it's slow and lethargic right now, it's been hot, last few days get a few monsoons, kind of get them going into it, they might have a 2-week prolonged period of being able to chase them when they're rutting pretty good.
Yeah, that definitely could happen. I mean, I would a lot rather them not be rutting right now than be rutting right now. I definitely would like to see them doing more of their rut action during the hunt.
And then that also translates for these guys that have these early rifle and muzzleloader tags as well. I mean, in these years when it's super green and they're, blowing their guts out the 3rd, 4th, 5th of September, sometimes by the time those early rifle hunts come, the rut is really, really winding down. What are you anticipating for activity as far as bugling and rutting activity for those early rifle hunts?
With the dates, you always generally anticipate it to be pretty dang good, but I always seem to find it being real pockety. I mean, I don't find it being like widespread. I think you go through a lot of big areas where it's just dead. But once you run into where they're kind of holed up and pocketed up, it's usually a pile of bulls chasing a cow or two,
Yeah, for sure. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing with us, and I appreciate the listeners. I'm over here at the Odd6 Ranch in Colorado, and so I'm doing these rut reports mobily, so I know the audio quality isn't as good, but I know that getting that good information out there is key, and I appreciate Justin and his whole crew and everything that they do. Justin, I want to give you a chance to let the listeners know how they can learn more about you, follow along, etc., and I'll try and link that up in the show notes.
Yeah, anybody can find us, at premiumhunts.com, or they can find us on the social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram, can contact us that way. All of our contact information is on our webpage. Any of those, they can get to us any way possible.
That sounds great. Well, hope you have a great season. I'll be looking forward to seeing the pictures of, I know you guys, I know how you are. I know you got the monsters up your sleeves, so it'll be fun to see how this all shakes out, and I appreciate you spending time with us. Okay, Justin?
Hey, thanks a lot, Jay. Good luck up there.
All right, take care.